Good. Okay, so you guys are ready. So thanks everybody for coming. I know you're just here for the food. That's fine. I appreciate you coming though. So today I'm just going to run through kind of what to expect in terms of the UI and navigational differences between Atlassian today, so Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket, and what we're going to experience when we go to cloud this month. Okay, so my team, Team TARDIS, me and Kat, and then Chris, Brett, and Kyle from Cloud Engineering Team are leading the effort. As I said, we're going to be migrating from our self-hosted AWS instance of Jira, of Atlassian, to the cloud version. The cloud, obviously. So Friday, November 22nd, you guys may have seen the banners already in Jira and Confluence, but at 1 p.m., we're going to take everything down and start the migration. And it will slated to last the whole weekend. Obviously, we're going to try to be optimistic, and hopefully we'll be done before like Sunday night. But we're going to do our best to get done as quickly as possible. So why are we doing this? The correct company response is scaling, future-proofing, and peace of mind. But that's really why we're doing it. But yeah, this wasn't Kat and I's decision. I'm just going to say that. So just to give you an idea of how much we're moving, there's a lot of stuff in Jira that we're moving, quite a bit in Confluence. And I know Bitbucket looks like it has the smallest list, but it's actually far and away the most complex thing that we're doing in terms of, that Brett's team is doing in terms of moving, in terms of migrating. So it may seem like on the surface, like why aren't we just trading one AWS for another? And while that's technically true, the APIs are completely different between cloud and the on-prem version. So it's basically a completely brand new product. Now, what does this mean for you guys as users? In addition to the API changes that I mentioned, there's a lot of changes in the UI itself. And then the thing about improvements, that much like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. So we'll start with Jira. And I just want to say, please don't throw your lunch at me when I go through these. Okay, so present day, this is pretty much what you see when you log in. The dashboard, you may have your own dashboard, you may have a certain page saved, but for the most part, this is what we see when we log in. And this is what we see, and this is what you're going to see in cloud. So the navigation goes from horizontal to vertical. There's a new Your Work page that kind of functions as your landing page when you log in. It's going to have like recently viewed items, things that are assigned to you, things you've starred or favorited. And then, like I said, your navigation is all on the left. I did reach out to a friend of mine to get his reaction to the change. And he was not thrilled. But we'll be okay. I just like that. I'm going to let it run. Okay, so issue view, that's where another big change is. As we see today, depending on the workflow you have 8,000 workflow buttons. You have your edit button, your status, assignee, people fields on the right, your dates on the right, the development area with your pull requests and commits. And please don't hit me. So in cloud, it's a lot more streamlined. The idea is that they only put the stuff you absolutely need to see on a day-to-day basis to actually do the work. So the emphasis really is on the description field. Your people fields are still at the top, but if you notice, the workflow button is now a singular button. And if you were to click on that button, it's literally just a drop down of all the possible statuses you could go to at that time. In terms of things like custom fields, which we do have a lot of, those are all going to be on the right-hand side, and there is an ability to kind of scroll down and see additional fields. We can also still customize this view to an extent in terms of what can show up on the left side. But for the most part, a lot of the additional information is going to be on the right. I did ask my friend again, and he was not thrilled. But it's not all doom and gloom. There is a little bit of hope. This is actually in cloud as well. So to get this view back, which is it's still a little bit different than what we have today, but it ultimately restores your horizontal navigation at the top. You may be wondering how. He doesn't really understand. But basically, there are two things to do to get the kind of old issue view back and to get the horizontal navigation back. I'll send you guys links on how to do all this. But basically, if you use Chrome and you want to get this navigation view back, you'll need to download an extension for the browser. And then in your personal settings in cloud, there's a way to go in and flip that toggle off for the new issue view. There's no real word on how long that will still be available. So if you're really aching for the old days, use it while you can. But I do imagine that eventually Atlassian will decide to say, okay, we're going to stick with the new issue view. Okay, Confluence, not quite as drastic a change as Jira. So present day, you log in, you have the updates page where it gives you kind of a running tally of everything. Any spaces that you favorited on the left are there. And then in cloud, so it's almost the same. Obviously, the navigation on the left is there, but for the most part, it looks relatively the same. Pretty much. So when you go and create or edit a page like you do today, this is basically, if you're creating a brand new page, this is kind of what you see. You've got all the options there along the top, how you'd like to customize the page. Your publish button is down there, or your save button, or update button if you're editing. And the future, so obviously the horizontal navigation is gone. It's a lot more, again, streamlined. Your publish button's in the top right. There are more things you can do in terms of spreading out the content. So there's that little double arrow button. It's hard to see, but on the top right-hand corner there, the page, if you were to click that, it would automatically extend everything, make everything nice and wide, or you can keep it in that kind of condensed view there too. Not that impressive. But just like with Jira, there is the browser extension view. So if you want to have that horizontal view again, or the horizontal navigation, you can engage that in that browser extension and get that view back. So finally, Bitbucket. So today you log in, maybe not me because I don't write any code, so your view may not look as clean as this one. but that's basically the view you get when you log in. And in the future, it's a little bit different. You're going to basically default to the repositories page, the tab. Again, vertical navigation. It's fine. Everything's fine. So repo view present day. You're all familiar with that. And in the future, mostly the same. Obviously, there's going to be some other bigger differences that we may talk about here in a minute. It's almost the same. But if, again, just like Jira and Confluence, if you have the browser extension, you can have the horizontal navigation back. So just to summarize, 1 p.m. on the 22nd, everything's going down. So make sure that, like, if you're doing any work in Confluence, Jira, Bitbucket, make sure everything is completed and cleared out and saved and all that stuff. You know, I'd say a good 15 minutes before 1 o'clock, just in case. If for some reason you had access after 1 p.m. and you made some updates, I can't promise that those updates are going to be reflected in cloud. So I'm just going to say that. Most changes, as I mentioned, are related to navigation. The Jira issue view, like I said, can be switched on and off. I'll send all that documentation out. I also have a bunch of documentation and videos about more like in-depth user experience differences in cloud that I'm going to send out to everybody. They're just a bunch of like short videos, like 2 to 3 minutes on all different kinds of topics. And again, we'll have the Chrome extension browser for the navigation. Chris, is there anything you want to mention about Bitbucket? Wow.
How close do I have to stand like this?
That's a little uncomfortable. That's fine.
So the big thing that the developers are going to be pretty upset about is the pull request view. I don't know if you didn't have a slide for that, but
No.
There's no graceful way of saying it's ugly. It's not as user-friendly in Bitbucket Cloud. I think it'll just take us some time to get used to. It's not as quick and easy just to go through every file, but they're trying to copy somewhat GitHub. I don't think they've completely gotten there, but that's the big thing to look out for. The other things we're trying to automate is the branch permissions per project, per repo. Project level permissions isn't a thing anymore, or in the cloud, so it all has to be on the specific repository. So a lot of the teams have a project that has multiple repos and it shares a lot of permissions and a lot of settings. Unfortunately, that's not a thing in the cloud version. And then we're trying to also automate updating all the URLs in Jenkins because the path is going to change. I believe Kyle will be providing a quick git command, couple git commands so that you don't have to reclone your repos. You can just change the origin from Bitbucket server to Bitbucket Cloud. Should be seamless as long as those steps are provided to you guys and followed. I think that's about all I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
If there's any questions?
So when issues arise on the Jenkins jobs failing, the first thing we'll want to look at then is that new URL point.
Yeah, it would just be really the thing that they'll need to do is hit the configure button, make sure that it points to the bitbucket.org instead of XYZ, or next name without XYZ.
Any other questions about all of this in general?
Anything online?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out that for any of us, which is all of us, that manage on the go, while the new UI may not be ideal, we'll be used to it, but we no longer have to have a VPN now on our phone in order to access. And there is a Jira Cloud app that is extremely highly rated in the App Store, and that is a significant improvement over anything I've used in the past that's third party. So this is
there's Confluence one too.
Yeah, James said that there's an amazing, highly reviewed, a app on the App Store. I would assume that it's for Apple and Android, or
Yes.
For Jira and Confluence, that is actually usable. In the past, it was a lot of third-party apps that you'd have to use for Jira on your phone, but this one's actually pretty nice.
One thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention in the beginning, everyone in this room probably has done it, but if not, please sign up for Okta. Please complete that as soon as possible. You will lose access to email, Google, and all Atlassian tools on the sometime after the 22nd. Well, we're already harassing the ones that haven't signed up yet. We're already emailing them multiple times, but yes. Any managers that would like to harass their people, we would appreciate it, and Scrum Masters, of course, as well. Definitely need to make sure you're in Okta by the 22nd. Any other questions?
When you say customizing, say the Jira, for instance, the change request, can you customize so that when it gets approved or peer reviewed, it's like the site, can you do that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, can you?
It was about Jira custom workflows.
I mean, yeah, we're still going to be able to have, I would say, the vast majority of customizations that we have today. So like, various automations and auto assigning and other automations that we have today, we'll still be able to have those. In terms of like the issue view and stuff, we can customize that to a certain extent. But in terms of if you see that new issue view or not, that's something that only you can control in your personal profile. So we can't like mass turn that on or turn that off. But yeah, in terms of any other automations and stuff, we'll still be able to do that for the most part as we do today. Anything else? Okay. Thanks, guys.